Hey guys, this is Swamp Cleaner Harry back with another live stream for you. We are here with our good friend Chris Logic Media. You can check him out on Twitter. And we have a newcomer to the stream. His name is Lord Nifty. You can also check him out at Twitter or on Twitter at Lord Nifty. Say hi.
Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Today we will be talking about the yes vote for same-sex marriage in Australia, the implications of that, where it might lead. Maybe it'll probably be very similar to how the same-sex marriage vote and how the perception changed over here in America. It'll probably be very similar. We'll bounce ideas off of that. Also, liberal lunacy. We'll talk about crazy stories from around the globe that has to do with SJWs, feminism, Islamophobia, who knows? It'll just be a random with that one. And maybe we'll touch on the little sexual assault, pedophilia kind of explosion that we've been seeing the past couple of months that has been hitting the United States particularly. But first off, I'm just going to do a little plug here, shameless plug. Everybody knows, or if everybody does not know, please go ahead and check out the Kilroy free speech event that will be taking place next year in Phoenix, Arizona on April 21st and 22nd. There will be many prominent YouTubers, panelists, doctors in their own respective fields, and people from all across the spectrum, libertarian, conservative, left-wing, and we're all going to come in the spirit of free speech. We're all going to have an open dialogue, open discussion. It should be a whole lot of fun. If you guys want to check that out, I have a link in the description of this video. Check out kilroyevent.com. You can check out all the information you need on where it is, when it is, what's going to be happening, and you can also pledge to support the fight for freedom of speech. So since I've got that out of the way, we will open up the floor. Since you two guys are Australians, you guys really know what's going on with this whole yes vote. So I will yield the floor to you guys, and you can kick it off.
You go first, Chris, if you like. I see we're starting on a light subject here, not too much controversy.
Literally the most unprepared I've ever been for a stream in my life.
Do you want me to say something first then? While you gather your thoughts? Yeah.
I'm just completely out.
I had an interesting conversation. I was at a party in a bar, and TV's on, and something came on TV about it, and I was just talking to two people at the time, and out of the three of us, pretty sure it was a yes and no and a don't care either way. And the interesting thing I found was there was two things all three of us agreed on. One, we were all sick of hearing about it by that stage, and two is once this is over, once the vote came through, whatever happens, Parliament passes, whatever, it's kind of feeling now with everything goes on, it's just going to be something else next. It's going to be some other aspect about it, some other issue that we're just going to get hit over the head with a lot. So, well, we'll see what happens with that. But I think, actually, I got to say, with the vote that's gone through yes now, and some politicians, it's now a debate on how do you protect, like, religious freedoms, so, people aren't dragged through the courts for disagreeing with it and everything. I think some conservative politicians have walked into a kind of a trap. They've let the yes side define it as a equality versus religion argument. And to me, it's more than that. To me, it's on the religious freedom. It's not just religious freedom. It's freedom of association. It's freedom of speech. All these things are concerns when you change the law, you change society in any way. But I love and I understand what they're doing here. They don't want priests preaching against whatever dragged before a tribunal. So I understand that, and I think that's an important thing to do, considering the emotions involved in all this. But I think they've made a bit of an error, and they've kind of walked into a trap, not realizing, because the way things are now, you know, if you talk about equality, you're kind of seen as the good guy automatically. So they've let the yes side define what the whole, I mean, they've unfortunately done this from day one, before the vote even started, was they've let the side say it's just about equality. They let them define it, and they were kind of on the back. The no side was on the back foot from day one. They were basically on the defensive, I think. And now that the vote has come through with a yes, that they're still on the defensive, and they've missed a bit of an opportunity to make it about freedom of speech and freedom of association for everyone. Because to me, equality, part of equality is you could do what you want, you're free to do that, but I'm allowed to also say, I don't want anything to do with that, walk away. So, I mean, that's just my thought on that. I don't know.
I found myself in a really a terrible conundrum with the same-sex marriage vote at the postal survey. That one which I could not sort of reconcile with my conscience, that I'm in agreement with same-sex marriage, and we can go down the line with, you know, religiosity and government involved in marriage, blah blah blah. But just on the surface, I'm cool for same-sex marriage. You know, if two dudes want to get married, two chicks want to get married, that's fine. But the flip side of that was realizing and recognizing that it doesn't end at same-sex marriage. It does not end at two guys getting married or two chicks getting married. There's going to be a trickle-down effect. But yeah, the problem I had was I couldn't pull the trigger one way or another, and I decided not to vote. It was a tough decision to make, but I thought so many of my gay friends want this. They're good people. They're great people. They're not activists. And if they marry their boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, then, you know, that I don't think that they're going to have any detrimental effect on society. But at the same time, the Ros Wards, so to speak, you know, of the world, they are going to be the people who will have a detrimental effect on society due to their sort of radical activism and utilizing same-sex marriage as a jumping off point for further societal and political change. So it's just crazy. I'm definitely worried that religious freedoms will be affected by this. I'm definitely worried that free speech is going to be affected by this. Yeah, I can see this being the Queensland University of Technology court case times 1,000.
And what's the context behind that?
So the Queensland University of Technology, what happened was there was a computer lab which was designated only for Aboriginal or Indigenous students, which, as you would call them in Canada, I know you're not in Canada, but as you would call them in Canada, First Nations people, and some white students used this computer lab and then were dragged through the court, basically, and accused of human rights abuses.
Yeah, they made a gag online about it. They said, "Oh, gee, where's the white supremacist computer lab?"
yes.
You know,
I've got a question. Were these white students using the computers while Aboriginals were in the same room?
I don't think they even got in, did they? They weren't even allowed in, were they? That's what I thought. But yeah.
Wait, so they didn't even get in? They tried to get in?
Oh well, they just went to use a computer and they were told no. You know, you can't.
Yeah,
This
segregation.
is a thing only. Yeah, basically. Yeah, which is a
Segregation,
bit of a big
wonderful.
hit in the US at the moment. Yeah. Everything goes full circle. So yeah, there is an opportunity, especially like I said, it's the debate was defined by one side, and
They
in that
determined
case,
which was evil and which was good.
yes, and it's like, and unfortunately that's what happens. A lot of people define the terms, and someone else is going back for it, like hate speech. How because they were accused of being racist because of that comment. A lot of people said, well, that was a racist, and they define what hate speech is. They define who's privileged. They define what equality is. They define. So basically, the debate is started by the people who've already decided the rules of that debate. And in their case, they were pretty much sunk from day one.
Well,
Because
this whole aspect of like what is painted as good and evil, that is something that was brought up in a Black Pigeon Speaks video that I watched. I think it's a couple months old. You can scroll back and find it. It's called the Destruction of Western Civilization, I believe. I don't think that's correct. But he talks about how we have an origin myth, and our new origin myth for Western culture started after World War II. And we define it by painting as the bad guys were the Nazis, is the basis for what is good and evil. If you have any views that remotely come close or align to Nazi ideology, whatever that could mean, it could be as innocuous as proper merit-based economic systems that Hitler set up during the early 1930s, to talking about a single race and its and the negativities or positivities of said race. Any aspect that could even be considered Nazi or anything like that is just painted bad, and that is what society has to fight against.
Well, even that, with using the Nazis as basis for evil, is also very selective. I mean, basically, when someone's being called a Nazi, it's either because they're seen as racist or nationalist. But the Nazis did more than that. I mean, Hitler claimed that the Nazi movement was Christian in nature until he got into power, and then he started bad-mouthing Christianity. Then he started replacing Christian celebration days with pagan. I mean, same thing, similar thing on the same day, but it was given a pagan feel. I mean, he ate a lot of beans. Apparently, he was very flatulent because they say he was a vegan, but he just ate a lot of beans, apparently. I mean, you could have picked anything from they're big environmentalists as well. In a lot of respects, you could have taken anything you wanted from Nazi Germany. You could have taken so many things, and then said, "Oh, that's evil." But they just picked out nationalism, beliefs about race, and writing books. You know, you could have taken anything. You could have taken a million lessons from Nazi Germany.
Well, you take a look at you see what's going on nowadays. People want to ban like certain literature or books from libraries based because they are deemed racist or homophobic or like anti-woman or something like that. It's pretty much the modern day version of book burning. It is the censorship of ideas, of thoughts, and you can superimpose that onto the digital side of things. When it comes to the internet, you ban websites, you silence people on Twitter, you do this and this and this. It's the equivalent of destroying a different opinion, whether it be by censoring somebody online, whether it be by lighting a match and setting a book on fire.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's amazing we still go back to Hitler. I mean, it was a big deal. Obviously, my grandfather was at Dunkirk. But yeah, I mean, you also have, and many have lamented on this, the USSR did a lot of things. Did a lot of very horrible things. Genocide, wiping
Well, they
out
killed more people
millions.
than the Nazis did. The Soviets killed more people than the Nazis did.
Yes, it did, yeah. And so yeah, the myth of good and evil is very selective, and we see that repeating over and over in debates now. It's a lot of debates, you don't even get to the nitty-gritty of it. You don't get to the points or the potential consequences. You're not even allowed to discuss them.
No.
I don't know I'm not sure if this happened in the US, but here, same-sex marriage, we were told we couldn't even discuss it because discussing it would hurt LGBT people's feelings. It would cause them harm. And
well, even further, yeah, we couldn't discuss it, but if we did discuss it, LGBT plus individuals would be committing suicide en masse.
When there's no evidence to back that claim up.
Exactly right. And if anyone had bothered to look at the data but were there any suicides of LGBTQ plus teenagers, which they were talking about teenagers in Ireland when Ireland voted? No.
From what I saw one article somewhere that said the suicide rates had gone down over that time period. I mean, suicide's a funny thing, though. I think people like to use, these people commit suicide because they're oppressed, because I read an article years ago now, I wish I saved it. It was by a police officer, and he says at least half the people who commit suicide don't leave a note. Even a note. People had no idea. I mean, we've all got problems. And so, sadly, a lot of people, and he's seen suicides by all sorts of different people, different races, different ages, different sexualities. For every person that commits suicide, and you go, oh, well, they're really depressed and upset about that. It's like, but 100 people are going through the same thing.
Well, okay. Without going down a rabbit hole of being personal, but that is exactly true, what that police officer said. Because, look, I lost my mother to suicide, and
sorry about that.
It is a fact. It's something that happened, and it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I can speak about it openly. But, for all the struggles and troubles that she had as a person, she was a mother to me and my sister, but she was a person above that, an individual with her own problems. And, it took me years to piece together things because, quite rightly, most people don't leave a note. You don't know. And so you're left speculating. Well, why did it happen? It's not to bring this conversation down. I just thought I'd interject.
No. Because, I mean, getting back to the original point about, I believe that it's when they throw these things out there, it's a combination of people not being informed and people's tendencies to get enthralled by scary words or scary notions, and because people have lost the ability to, for the most part, critically think and actually get down to the, like you said, the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty of what's actually going on. So people are wanting just to be explained what's going on, and if you have people like in your Australian Parliament saying crazy things like, if we don't vote for this, these people are going to commit suicide, it's taking advantage of people at a very fundamental level.
Yeah, and speaking of when they talk about consequences, this will happen or this won't happen, the fact is, a lot of the times something has changed and you don't hear basically a law gets changed. The government says, we've done this for this reason. And then you never hear about it again. A good kind of non-controversial example would be here in Western Australia. They made it a lot harder to get a driver's license. For, you know, they had to log X amount of hours. They had, you know, with a driving instructor and then with other people. They just basically made it a lot harder. And it was based on the idea and a noble goal to reduce car accidents among young people. And they were pretty high, like, you know, 17 to 25-year-old males were just wiping themselves out at a you know, much higher rate than everyone else. And then so to talk about, and that law was passed, and, you know, I know a lot of people when I was, I used to work with a lot of people around the age, you know, it took them a lot more time and money to get their license. So it was actually causing people, you know, it's a bit hard for them. But I never heard if the strategy worked. I never heard if it reduced car accidents. It's how the governments, they come in, they say, we're going to do this, it's going to do this, and it gets done, the law gets passed, and you never hear about it again. And then, but the next debate comes along, and everyone's talking about consequences. If you do this, this will happen. But, well, what's your track record here? You know, are your predictions any good in this regard? You never hear, you very rarely hear, unless you do a lot of research yourself. It's literally just, we got the job done, we no longer care. And we're going to assume you don't either.
Now, getting back to the starting topic, how...
Oh yeah, sorry.
No. I mean, it's good. I mean, these conversations grow organically, which is good. But when it's about the same-sex marriage, like, I believe that what's going to happen in Australia is going to be very similar to what happened in the United States when we passed same. There's going to be...
It's going to be a complete replication of what happened in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, because we've come to this vote and we've come to this discussion 5 years later. So if and the activists who are the yes activists
are just taking their cues from what happened in these other countries.
Yeah, correct. So on the day that it was announced by the head statistician from the Australian Bureau of Statistics that the yes vote had won, within minutes and hours on Twitter, there was actually conversation about that. There were people tweeting, I've got screen caps of it. There were people who were tweeting, now I'm going to go to a Christian bakery and force them to make a cake.
Yeah, I was about to tell you, like, that's something you tweeted to me. I'm like, look at this is crazy.
Yeah, no, I saw a couple of, like, saying, oh, this person should be arrested. This person should be prosecuted for, you know, being on the no side, basically. Like, the more vocal opponents,
but
they should be
freedom
charged
of
with
expression, freedom of opinion. They're
Yeah,
trying to throw they're because of this, they're all warm and virtue signaling inside, so they want to they're pretty much they're being sore winners, or what do you call that? Yeah.
Lack of being magnanimous.
And that'll just and on that sense, that will actually have a negative effect. It'll be like a back angle. It'll come back to where a lot of people will look on that behavior negatively. And that will just stir up more division. It'll stir up more problems, and it's going to create a headache on society, because you can't just, once something is allowed to go through, you can't just like drop the rights of another group of people based on the fact that they were not for this movement. Everybody has, that's why Parliament has to be very careful. Well, actually, what I should say is they should do their due diligence and figure out how to make this possible without stomping all over everybody else's rights based off of the, like we said, that whole dynamic of good, evil, right, wrong, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's I do think about it occasionally. Like, you look at the old constitutions and so forth from 150, well, in Australia's case, like only about 120, about 100, 120, 200, maybe 300 years ago, they're actually very, not vague, they're very basic. It's like you have a freedom of speech, you have freedom of religion, you can hang out whoever you want. You know, I mean, it varies from country to country, like America has the right to bear arms and so forth. But they're all very basic, and they're all very, it applies to everyone. It doesn't matter. And because they were so basic, you didn't have that problem. I mean, part of it was that, you know, the cultures were very homogenous, so they weren't that many huge arguments over right and wrong, but they were very basic. They applied to everyone, and you could work on that. And it's like, well, I've got a right to do this. It's like, fine, well, I've got a right to not go near you and tell you you're full of crap if I want. And that was it. But now we've kind of got these, and Western countries did fail in this a bit. The United States had like segregation, and it's interesting watching about the history of the U.S. Civil War, how even before, long before it broke out, they all knew that slavery was going to be an issue.
Well, here's the thing. What's a lot of people don't realize is that after the Civil War, there wasn't any segregation. Everything was good for the next 50 years. For the next 50 years, everything was integrated until you had the Democrat Woodrow Wilson get into the presidency. He resegregated the army. He resegregated the political spectrum, as in a lot more disdain and scrutiny came under people of color who were trying to run for office. He even like, I know this is going off in a different area, which I won't delve into, but this is the kind of guy who would show KKK films in the White House.
Yes, yeah.
So I mean,
that, yeah. Like, identity politics has bred this kind of, well, these people are having a bit of a hard time, we should legislate something about it. And that sounds all good and well, but then it called, well, why isn't this group's also getting a hard time? Why don't they have a law? And then you hit the case of, it's like, well, that contradicts this group. I mean, in Australia, it came out that the electorates which voted most strongly no were actually Muslim ones, like not predominantly majority Muslim, but large Muslim populations. So now we've got the, yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, so now we've got that multicultural kind of clash. And well, what are you going to do now? And what are you going to do now? Are you going to have a special law for those two groups that are, and, you know, are laws that apply to Christians going to apply to Muslims? Because as many has pointed out, a lot of people, it's a case of, you know, some Muslim preacher says that gays should be killed and no one bats an eyelid. Some Christian, I saw a guy on Facebook, I deleted my Facebook account a couple of years ago, but he just said, all he said, word for word, was marriage is between a man and a woman. And people just piled on, just absolutely piled on for that. And I'm sorry to go on about that, but I'll give you a really, really good example here. Someone I used to be friends with on Facebook, they used to post LGBT stuff. Okay, fine, whatever. What I noticed, there was a pattern. The pattern was they weren't so much, hey, gay people are ordinary people, they're nice, they're fine, they just want to live their lives, their relationships are equal, that kind of stuff. It was all Christians are bad. Christians are bad. When stuff about ISIS came up, every time she posted something, it was like, oh, well, you know, Christians have fanatics as well. So it, you know, I kind of got the impression.
People don't know their history. These people don't know their history.
Yeah. But it was a case of, yeah, it's like there was that anti-Christian animosity there about the issue, which they didn't apply to Muslims. And we've seen this now. The yes vote has been people who were big on social media, Twitter and so forth about this issue have just basically been trying really hard to ignore it. Because now you've got two groups that they claim are oppressed in direct disagreement, direct opposition, and they don't know what to do.
Well, it's quite funny that the left government, being the Labor government, the Greens, Labor and Greens here in Australia, the Muslim
They had most of those people were labor. The Muslim community had the Labor Party as their electorates.
So the in the Muslim community is they're coddled by the left, and it's so funny that
It's just a voting bloc.
It's so funny that the Muslim community have out and out voted no against same-sex marriage when apparently Islam is the most peaceful and feminist and open religion in the world, you know. And it's just the mental gymnastics that the left are trying to do. It's just fucking crazy. I'm not verbalizing myself particularly well today.
That reminds me of what you were talking. You sent us in the DMs the other day. Take a look at the hashtag West Sydney, and just take a look at that shitstorm that was going on. You have people going like, "Oh, look at all these bigots and these homophobes living here," and then you have people who are defending both, like same-sex marriage, and defending and pretty much infantilizing the minority populations that are living in those areas that voted no.
Yeah, not just Muslims. We're talking like ethnic Buddhists, Chinese, and so forth as well.
Yes.
Well, just high migrant areas, basically. But it's quite amusing as well that the yes vote was so high in right-wing electorates. And so doesn't that just blow the whole narrative out of the water that you've got the no vote, which was at its highest in an area which is so heavily dominated by Muslims and Arabic-speaking people, and then you've got the yes vote, which is so high in the areas where the electorates where, you know, we're all racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes.
I think that goes back to what Nifty was saying earlier about how the no vote started out on the down foot. Like, it goes back to that, what we were talking about at the start, about the fundamentals, right and wrong, the perception of what is good and bad. And it turned into a smear campaign against anybody who just holds that more traditionalist view, and it was used as a sledgehammer to beat these people into submission and guilt trip these people into voting yes, because like the people who are noticed the most are scream the loudest. So if you say no to this, you'll have 20 people on Twitter freaking scream at you, and then you feel like the whole world is caving in around you. It's the perception of you are in the wrong, even when it's just your opinion. I mean, it's the fundamental undermining of freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, freedom of speech, and it ties into what you were saying about Nifty. If you want to create a special law, that in itself is going to go against equality. These people preach about equality all the time, but if you're going to create a special law for some other people, then those people are different. They're privileged. They're special. So there is no equality. It is about it simply boils down to, we want to placate to you so we can get you to vote for us.
Yeah, sadly, that is what it comes down to. I mean, I think the LGBT plus community has been taken for a bit of a ride here. They've been made to, even though society, whatever you personally think of homosexuality, bisexuality, trans, those related issues, you've got to admit that it's become more acceptable. But there are also people are, and not just them, you could point to a lot of minority groups to say they're constantly fed this narrative of fear. That one Twitter discussion I saw is somebody said something, no case, fairly innocuous, and someone else says, "Oh, how am I supposed to feel safe with people like this out there?" It's like, it's someone you'll never meet.
Yeah,
on
you
the other
are
side of the country.
safe.
yeah, you are safe. He's not going to do anything to you. He probably doesn't want to.
It's the whole mantra of words are violence. Ideas are going to kill me. That is the whole social justice, like, I need to be in my little safe space bubble, and that is how I shut down and diffuse all this stuff, because I feel like I'm physically in danger, and the notion of going after somebody who thinks that they are physically in danger and who is actually gets legitimately scared paints a negative picture on somebody who's actually trying to push valid points or an opinion, which is not going to kill you. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
But yeah, sticks and stones might break my bones, and everyone online is a Nazi.
I like.
But yeah, I mean, also, I mean, the interesting thing about because a few people did bring up the whole argument was about the word marriage in itself, because we do have laws in Australia, like if you're a partner, you can civil union laws, and when they were introduced, no one batted an eyelid. Not the religion, as far as I know, anyway. I didn't hear any screaming from any religious group, from any conservative group about these laws. Most Western societies in particular, can tolerate, most individuals will tolerate things even if they vehemently against it, because there's that kind of unspoken knowledge that, I mean, I'm a white hetero male, you know, but I know there's people out there that don't like me personally. They don't like me because
I don't like
I'm male and everything.
You're a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe.
My reputation precedes me again. But you know, I feel fairly safe in this society, and every society has outliers, outcasts, and everything from, you know, people who collect model trains to organized crime. And Western societies are pretty safe, but unfortunately, a lot of people are getting fed this, you're a victim. I mean, there are people out there that will attack you for your skin color or whatever. But thankfully, they're very rare. I mean, that's why they make the news, because they are rare. But everyone's being fed this fear victim narrative, and it's coming back to bite them. As people say, they wouldn't be these people in US and other places, you know, white nationalists, without all this people saying, oh, you can't be racist against white people. They're creating this monster. This is on them.
So here's a
question. In a sense.
Here's a question. And going back to what you were saying, Nifty, about equality, how do we actually achieve equality without division? Because the drive for equality has actually gone to the other side of the seesaw now, that minority groups, the minority groups you were talking about, are now achieving what is apparently equality, but then the majority group is ending up with sort of inequality. Or like, how do we achieve equality without actually marginalizing people and delving into social justice?
Well,
you need to forget about feelings.
And further, how
feelings,
you need to forget about feelings. Fuck the feelings, facts. Empirical evidence, facts. Fuck the feelings.
No, I agree with you, but in a sort of, in the society that we live in, Harry, like, the left are not going to adhere to empirical evidence and facts. They
play it as they play with different rules. They play with different rules.
They're going to work off feels. They're going to work off feels. So in the current environment that we're in, how do we achieve equality? Equality.
Well, depends. How do you measure it?
They don't want equality.
Yeah,
That's the thing. They don't want equality. They want to flip everything on their heads. I believe that I'm convinced at some point that in America, we're not going to hear the end of this until some white people become indentured servants to like the black community to placate this stuff. I mean, that seems crazy, but I mean, that's pretty much what they push. They constantly push anti-white, this anti-man, anti-white male especially, and we're the devils, we're the bad people, and everybody else is good, but they forget about, history, that little, thing that gets in the way.
Well, the thing is with anything, there's always the problem of you might have something, but people don't think you have it. You might actually have social equality, but some people always feel like the world's screwing them, whether it is or not, and that goes on a personal level, like as an individual or as a group. So you're always going to have the trouble of. I mean, there's no easy answer to this. I mean, you mentioned activists are going to keep going. Yeah, activists always keep going. Once a problem is solved, once they get what they want, then theoretically they have no power, they have no influence, they have no reason to get money.
They find a new problem.
If you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk. So it's that whole notion where it's like a 5-year-old kid who keeps pushing his parents to see how far he can go to bend them to his will. And in my opinion, this won't end until there is a large pushback from the other side. And I hate using that term, the other side, because it polarizes everything. It puts everybody into their own little camps. And we have to get to the point where we can get to that 1914 Christmas where the Germans and the English came out of the trenches and shook hands and had coffee and traded biscuits. We need to get to that. I mean, because we are stuck in our own respective trenches here, firing pot shots back at each other. We're continuously talking past each other because we are trying to have other people agree with our opinions when they, and this goes for us too, that we don't fundamentally consider those opinions to be, for a better word, in valid. Find a better word for me, something that, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I think see, the thing is, the activists are going to stop. The thing is, activists without funding, without people following them, are just some crazy guy in the corner with a sign that says "the end is nigh." And unfortunately, they get enabled. Basically, it's like it's like rich families that have this 20-year-old still living off mummy's and daddy's purse. Why is he going to go to uni or get a job or anything? He's not. He's no reason to. He's being enabled. The activists, whatever cause you're talking about, whatever side of the fence they're on, because you're always going to get fanatics. You're always going to get people who take things too far. And I think what it should be, the only real thing that's going to fix it is the mass of the population just going, enough. And I don't see how that's going to happen, because you can't just freeze everything and not change anything because, the people pushing for change are activists. I mean, the abolitionists were activists. People in the UK, the US were trying to eradicate slavery the world over. They were activists by definition. So that's the tough one. I mean, a lot of activists do good things.
The only thing I see is that this will come to blows, which it already has started here in the United States and especially in Europe. It's either going to come to blows where the people in charge or the power structure of either side is going to be decimated, whether it be physically, legally, mentally, I don't know, politically, or there is just some other kind of outside factor that comes down on everybody, which is a bigger issue for everyone, that we put our things aside and focus on that. But I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, well, one thing that got, you look at the history of the 20th century, feminists like to say that, they like to portray it as they got women into the workforce. Well, the thing that got a lot of women into the workforce is that their husbands and boyfriends and brothers and fathers were getting killed overseas. And there was a man shortage because they were all in the trenches or they're in the battlefields in foreign countries. So I think you're right. Something will probably actually have to come along for change to current. God knows what it is. I mean, hopefully it's not like World War III or anything. But, or maybe something will change. Maybe people will just go, look, you've got what you wanted, enough. But unfortunately, sometimes people don't say enough until you're well beyond the point of enough, and it affects them
like
personally on a
the
mass
thing is, when they
scale.
talk about equality, women and minorities in America actually have more rights under the law than white men or like, let's say, native born Americans as opposed to immigrants. You have more rights, more protections under the law when they say they don't. They say they have left. So that is a clear example of they already have more, but they just want even more.
Well, that's a perception. I mean, a lot of them may not realize. I mean, there's a funny thing with the gun debate. There's this woman holding a sign that said, well, it wasn't about the gun debate. It was actually about women's issues. This woman's holding a sign that says, "I wish I had as many rights as a gun." And like some smartasses pointed out that so you don't want to be allowed on planes or in polling booths or here, and you have to be registered. And that's the thing. The activists tell people you don't have as many rights as these people over here. If this bad thing happens to you, it's because of this. It's not because just life sucks or bad timing or you don't have the qualifications or the other guy just had more or whatever. People are just constantly fed this. You are a victim, and every time there's the slightest thing, all it takes is one person to act like a dick, basically, and they go, "Oh, look,
there's a prime example." So everybody's a dick.
These guys are everywhere. Yeah.
See,
you have to worry about these guys.
It's what's one of the most annoying things to me is that when I see these videos of, Flecka Talks or etc. going out to these protests and actually asking these people genuine questions, a lot of these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just speaking out of their ass. They're just regurgitating what they've been taught in their liberal havens of college and their social justice warrior classes, to where their perception of what is actually going on in reality is nowhere near the mark. So, and they cover themselves by saying, "Oh, it's victim this, victim that." So you cannot address the issue directly. So then they deflect to other issues, as in like toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, Islamophobia. It's everything that can shut down the argument to where they don't actually have to talk about specifics.
Yeah,
is their bread and butter.
Yeah, you can't fix a problem.
You can't even say what the problem is.
You can't fix it if you can't say what it actually is, and you can't fix it either if it's not actually there. If you're addressing something that doesn't exist or is different or is actually caused by something else. And so, to answer Chris's question, who knows? I mean, how do you... Because even if you do get equality and everyone's on the same level, one, some people are still going to believe that they're not equal. Two, some people aren't going to care. They're just going to still be looking for an advantage. And if they need to say inequality to get that advantage, they'll do it. If they need to say purple monkey dishwasher to get that advantage, they'll do that as well. I think because we've made inequality and discrimination, those things, the ultimate sin in our societies now, that's just going to be the default. And even if we do purge the mentality of people in the Western world of those concepts in the way that they're referred to now, the sad fact is we're going to get some other factions, God knows about what kind of group they'll be or what side of the fence they're on, but they're going to find something else. To go back to Nazi Germany, it was the Jews' fault. Germany got stabbed in the back, and the Bolsheviks always blamed these farmers that had a bit more than the farmer next door. So, but how much of that they actually believed and how much of it was just to grab power, you may never know for sure. So, to get back to the question, kind of went off the track like Billy Connolly there. I don't know if we ever can stop it, apart from just basically trying to find a way to convince everyone to return to basic principles. And in this case, is like, yes, you're allowed to do this and this, but everyone's allowed to tell you to get
People need to go back
stuffed
to growing
as well.
backbones. People need to stand up for their own opinions, for their own principles, without even letting any kind of attacks undermine their position. They need to go back to believing in what, like, truly standing behind what they believe in.
That's true, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're all human beings, and most of us just want to get on with it. We've got too much to do.
I know, but if we do that, if we just want to be like, okay, fine, we'll give you this, just so we can get on with it, then we won't really be able to get on with it, because society will have changed in such a way to where that it could trickle down to something as mediocre as interacting with people at the bar, or interacting with people at the workplace. I mean, and that's already starting to happen.
Yeah.
Sexual assault cases going on, and that was actually a good segue. We will segue into the next section we'll talk about, the whole explosion of sexual harassment, rape allegations, real rape, real sexual harassment. Where's the line? How is that wrong? And we'll kind of morph into that. But if we just bay to the masses and just allow them to roll over us to placate them, then it's 1939 all over again.
Yeah, it's a question of where do you draw the line, and how do you know that this guy who's asking for this is going to just keep going, or maybe he will be happy with just that? You don't know, and you just got to keep vigilant, I suppose. Price of freedom is eternal vigilance. I do think, though, we should basically go, I don't know how well it would work, but basically go back to just very basic principles. Try to remove anywhere you can from the legal statutes any reference. Just say, look, everyone's equal. Try to remove as much as you can any references to race, gender, whatever. That might help, because it won't give anyone like a jumping off point, but it would be very hard in today's society with identity politics. And basically, I think it comes back to, we're no longer a kind of, what's the word? Culturally homogenous society. We're having these arguments now.
Diversity is our strength.
We wouldn't have had,
not really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. We wouldn't have had these arguments 100 years ago, because it just wasn't on the table, because everyone was, like in Australia, Protestant or Catholic, Catholic, European backgrounds for the most part. Not to say Australia was perfect 100 years ago, but what were you to argue about? You know, sure, you might argue about who'd be the best prime minister, but it wasn't a case of one of them is potentially Satan. It was one of them was going to have your group dragged out in the street in the middle of the night and have a bullet put through their head, because the culture is homogenous. With multicultural societies, the big drawback is you are going to get new ideas, and occasionally they bump up against each other. But all this sexual harassment, oh my God, all this assaults and everything, it's just, but that's a case of they've bitten themselves in the ass as well. They've spent years, lowering the bar for what classes as sexual harassment, and going, oh, you should always believe the victim no matter what. And look what's happened.
I am not a listen and believe kind of guy. I go by the numbers. I go by evidence. And I actually had an argument the other night with I don't know if you know him, Tim. Motivated Opinion. You know Timmy Boy. Hey, Timmy Boy.
Timmy Boy. I know Timmy Boy.
Nifty. You've heard of Tim Blake, the Motivator Opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's from New Zealand. Yeah, him and I, we had a back and forth.
Harry's got one of like these
love-hate relationships with him. I love the guy.
No, I was going to phrase it a little bit differently. Nifty, you know the term hate fuck?
Oh no.
So it's kind of like, you're into someone so much.
I'm going to tweet at him right now saying we're talking about Tim.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
Harry wants to hate fuck Tim Blake. Tweet that.
But yeah, well, I'm not listening to believe it. I mean, obviously evidence before, because, you know, I mean, it's one of the most horrible things. I mean, it's one of the most horrible things you could do to someone in our society. You know, it's worse than just punch them in the head. Sexual assault is worse. So, you know, you shouldn't be taken lightly. But at the same time, you don't want to dismiss these people because, I mean, in case of Louis C.K., he's actually admitted it. So,
yeah, like I
So
don't dismiss the allegations. As I told Tim the other day, they are what they are, allegations, which is an unfounded hearsay. It's pretty much just hearsay. So in order to back that up, you need to actually give me something more tangible that I can look at, which is more than just what you said it was. Now, I mean, when it comes to like Harvey Weinstein, you have dozens and dozens and dozens of people at this point, and spans a couple decades. And at this point, the police say that they're going to search and see if they can press some charges. So that's where allegations become more solid and more concrete. I mean, it goes back and forth. We went back and forth between how Roy Moore is like the case between Roy Moore and Al Franken are two completely different things. Yes, they both have allegations to them, but one has actually evidence to it. One has actually got a picture of Al Franken,
and everyone's
roping the titties when this poor lady is sleeping, which is molestation. And
no, that's called lazy love.
It's weird. Well, Diversity Comics did a good video, and he made a good point that these people don't live in the real world. I mean, you listen to the allegations, and you're like, Harvey Weinstein thinks he's the hero. Yeah, well, he said, like, you listen to some of the descriptions of what has happened, and he said Harvey Weinstein sounds like he thinks he's actually the hero in one of his movies. You know, he just walks in a room with his bathrobe a bit open and pins her up against the wall. And yeah, that works in the movies if you've just saved 1,000 people from zombies. But I mean, look, I think some innocent people are going to get caught up in this and accused, and I think some guilty people are going to get off. And bad choice of words. And it's going to go on for a lot longer.
I liken this spree of allegations, and just to bring it back to a local level, about 10 plus years ago, there was in Adelaide in Australia, there was an incident where a woman had been sexually assaulted by a taxi driver, and within weeks there were just tens of allegations coming out against taxi drivers. It was just rampant. And a lot of these allegations were untrue. There were individuals who were saying that a taxi driver had sexually assaulted them, and using that for whatever means and ends they had in mind. So I think it's a similar case here with Hollywood, that there are definitely, you know, true sexual assault victims. Their casting couch is real, but I do think there's a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, possibly for fame. I don't know.
Well,
for fame, yeah. Hopefully to sue for some money, but I mean, at the same time, though, a lot of allegations come out because, you know, one person thinks they're the only one, and they have no evidence.
#B2.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of cases, I think, they don't come forward until someone else does, because they don't actually have any evidence. They have no witnesses, and you know, you accuse someone super rich of something.
And there is a security in coming forth after someone else has come forth. So Rose McGowan was not destroyed career-wise from outing Harvey Weinstein, which started this whole thing. And other women within the industry are going to feel safe, that their careers are not destroyed by outing people as well. But I do think that there is some of these lower tier accusations and allegations. I think it has the potential to destroy people's careers, and they're baseless accusations. You can't prove it. Everyone's a sexual abuser now. I want a list of people in Hollywood, men in Hollywood, who haven't sexually abused someone, because everyone's a fucking rapist.
Yeah, it'd be shorter. It'd be easy to read.
Well, it's not just men. Chris, did you see that video that I linked to you before we started streaming?
No, I didn't watch it because she molested me, and now I choose to live as a gay male.
But I mean, when you want to have a list, I mean, when it comes to the whole thing, yes, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm 100% sure that there is legitimate cases, and a lot of them. But then you have those people sneaking in who are nefarious, or who see the opportunity to bring somebody down who let's say they've tried to do it for decades, and now they have an in to try to just smear someone. The biggest thing that comes to mind, I mean, and it does have to do with Hollywood, but it had to do with the presidential campaign last year, where like a month before the election, people came, like 10 women came out of the woodwork and accused Mr. Donald Trump of being sexually assaulting them, and they tried to use the whole grab him by the pussy comment as evidence of that happening. So it turns out that like pretty much all these women were either coerced or paid into actually accusing him of sexual assault. So I mean,
can we
go
start
ahead.
Can we start a feminist rock and roll band called the Pussy Grabbers?
I don't know how many headlines.
No one wants to hear me sing.
That marquee would be good to look at, though.
Yeah.
No,
actually, you know,
here's the twist. It's going to be a male feminist band.
Oh no! Then
Oh god!
ourselves the cups.
We just might as well arrest us right away. You know,
it's the cups.
The name of the band suggests the charges that are going to come.
Yeah. Actually, you reminded me with Kevin Spacey's apology. It reminded me of George Michael. He pulled the same. Oh God, we've got a phrasing. When he got arrested for his lewd act in a public.
To the whole "let's go outside" when he was like fucking dudes in the toilet.
No, I think he was caught by a cop alone, and then he came out. I think was it? Oh well, either way, he basically said, "Oh yeah, by the way, you know," he got arrested, and he goes, "Oh, I'm gay," and it's just like, dude, fire your lawyer. You know, that's not what you're arrested for. So Kevin Spacey was just like, oh, you know, it was got to be I mean, he got it from every angle when he did that, because, you know, people saying, hey, you're equating chasing 14-year-olds with being gay. And then other people were like, oh, that's not why we're angry at you. You know, it was just like the worst apology ever.
Speaking of that, I'm not going to derail things, but I am.
Yeah.
About a year or so ago, there was an article on the ABC Australia website. I think it was probably under opinion and analysis. And it was the ABC, whoever this journalist was actually saying that, oh, you know, there's valid reasons for homosexual people, men in particular, to have sex in public parks and public bathrooms. I've got to find it. It was just crazy.
Yeah, go back to the word equality.
Wait, it was advocating for them to do that?
It was actually saying that it was advocating for it, and it was saying that what's it called? It's called there's a word for it. Like I don't know, but anyway, they were saying that, yeah, okay, well, you know, there's a reason why gay men have sex in public parks and public bathrooms, and, you know, we should understand it, and it's all okay. It was just ridiculous.
But what happens if a man and a woman wanted to do that in public?
No, well, that's bigoted.
Are they white?
Oh, gotcha. So one group gets to do something and the other group doesn't. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Back to the word equality. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think if you,
as I said, I didn't want to derail the conversation, but I successfully have, because all I'm good for is little tidbits of pop culture bullshit.
But going back to the sexual harassment topic, it's getting to the point where, since there's so many allegations, and it's not it's people in Hollywood, people on the left, people on the right being accused, thrown under the bus, etc., whatever colloquialism you want to use. It shows that the people on the left especially don't know how to keep themselves morally consistent or keep their stories consistent, because, for example, you had Chelsea Handler come out, I think it was yesterday, and she is extremely left-wing, and she hates Trump, and she hates men, she's a feminist, and all that good stuff. But she comes out, she says, now we can believe the people who Bill Clinton molested and sexually assaulted. We can now believe these people, like Winifred Broderick, etc., because she has been pretty much crushed under the weight of all of this, pretty much this hypocrisy. It's coming back to bite her in the ass.
It's too little, too late.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're all sick of her now, so yeah, you can have her and her husband. Just take them, you know. Yeah, it's the situational morality, which once again goes, how do we get back to a situation where we're all equal and everyone's happy with the laws? And, you know, as with people with, someone put it as, it's not the principle, it's the side. I mean, even Lena Dunham is like defending someone now who's been accused of things, because
I know, and
she was getting she's
getting a ton of shit for this now.
Isn't that the most beautiful?
She gets a ton of shit all the time. It's beautiful
thing.
I accidentally introduced a friend of mine, actually, Fixamatosis. I accidentally introduced him to Lena Dunham, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he now uses my name as a curse word because of that. He's just like, what the is this? So yeah, and I think they'll try to.
The funny thing about Lena Dunham is everything she does is like just these empty platitudes. It's all virtue signaling. The woman finger banged her own sister and wrote, like, put it in a book, and now she's defending a sex pest. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's and like the book was out for a while and no one picked up on it until one writer from National Review just went, hang on, did no one else read this?
I love that on the Twitter trending, when you swipe through and you can see all the top tweets about that subject. It is once again like the lefties going mental. They're like, oh no, Lena Dunham's done something bad. How can we twist this? And they're like, well, she represents white capitalist feminism.
So now capitalism is a good thing?
Is there any room under that bus?
It's a good thing now, okay.
She's not intersectional enough.
Oh, yeah, see, it's never enough. You need more and more and more. Like, people are attacking Taylor Swift because
she has a bit of shit in her mouth off.
Well, it's because she isn't shooting her. She's keeping herself distanced from this political quagmire that we call society right now, and she's being browbeaten into towing the liberal line, and it's very disingenuous. It's really, really annoying.
When I was a kid, and well, I mean, we're effectively the same age, Harry. I don't know how old you are, Nifty, but when I was a kid, my parents said, well, you do not discuss who you voted for, which party you voted for. You keep that private.
Yeah.
You know, and politics has changed so much. I mean,
Mm.
I'm 31, so we're looking, you know, when my parents said that to me when I was old enough to understand what politics were, I'm probably 7, 8 years old. So, 25 years ago. And look at what's happened in such a brief period of time. Not only do we tell people who we voted for, but we scream at people if they, if they're Taylor Swift.
Show a lack of enthusiasm for your side. It's like, Taylor Swift hasn't spoken out against this. It's like she's not under any obligation to.
Yeah,
None of us are.
it's unfair. It's the point where, well, why haven't you spoken out about this? Does that mean you agree with these other people? And they just jump to these conclusions. They assume your position on things because you haven't given them pretty much, if you're making an accusation against me, you need to prove it. I don't have to prove it. Like, if you're making that accusation, if you're assuming things about me, you need to come up with evidence of your assumption to actually make it credible. I don't have to do that. It's the burden of proof is not on me, it's on you.
And yeah, you want to surprise people in Australia today? Just tell me go to church, whether it's true or not. Just say it, because people don't announce they go to church all the time, so people assume that no one goes.
I was just going to say about Taylor Swift. Has anyone considered that maybe she wants to just remain impartial, and
she just wants to do what she's doing,
retain an audience, and thusly record sales from the whole country, from the whole world, and not be involved in the political bullshit.
Because once you pick a side, once you pick a side, you alienate the other ones.
Yeah, you alienate the other side. North America, you alienate half of the world. I mean, it's...
Yeah, and in the entertainment industry, music, acting, if you're a writer, your career can just disappear. Well, even without that, even if you stay apolitical, you can... Your career could just disappear overnight. Some actors, like you see them in a film, you never see them again. You get blackballed, even if you haven't done anything. So I think she is. I mean, her and other celebrities as well are protecting their careers because, you want to keep doing it. You enjoy it. It's making you good money. You want to keep doing it. And because it could end at any minute, even if you do stay apolitical. See,
it comes to mind that if you guys ever see the tabloids, like the OK or Newsweek and all that stuff, the tabloid celebrity crap that's in the checkout lane at the supermarket, you can tell who is actually doing good by themselves by them not showing up in the tabloids. Like whenever it comes with like celebrities who married each other and they have kids, you can tell the ones who are actually having a successful relationship to the ones who aren't, because the ones who are having a successful relationship are not in the tabloids.
Yeah, so like Sarah Michelle Gellar is good. I mean, she just married and had kids, and she kind of disappeared. And you never hear about her. She became a mom. She just I mean, she did what everyone else does, and they're not interested. There needs to be
controversy.
It's Steven Spielberg said once, it's like everyone in Hollywood thinks me and my wife are boring. Because I mean, he made these amazing films, but at the end of the day, he was just wife, kids. He was just. I don't think there's a lot of celebrities probably like that.
You're being normal. You're not being progressive. So there's nothing to talk about here.
Guys, I'm going to drop out for a minute. I'll rejoin you in about 15. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
What we'll do is we'll segue into liberal lunacy stories to the craziness here. And you know what? On the same note, when it comes to Taylor Swift, have you seen the articles coming out about this new face app that removes makeup on women? And that's blowing up now. It's pretty much, this is a sign. This shows how deeply ingrained the patriarchy is, where it's going to, we're going to critically judge women based off of how they look without makeup on, and we shouldn't do that, even though women champion makeup tutorial videos and champion glamour and all this stuff.
And they buy all the magazines that have stars without makeup on the cover.
And it's
That's
all
the bit
about
that
like, so
struck me.
women can gossip. So
Yeah.
women can gossip about how ugly other women look without makeup, but when a man, sorry, I don't know why I was going to use parentheses, but
well, it's hard to tell
when a man
sometimes.
when a man does something to point out how women look when it comes to makeup, then there's a problem. Then there's a flip out. Then there's the sexism and the whole stereotypical attitude towards women and all this. I'm just like, this is all just crazy idiocy.
Yeah, look, if women want to be upset about, you know, how men react with or without makeup, the different reaction, you know, there's plenty of stuff that guys have this is the thing I find, like, men complain about women doing this and women complain about men doing this. Both genders, we've got these equivalents. They're not the same. It's obviously we keeping you up, man.
Oh no! You're good. You're good. This happens at 2:15 in the morning. It happens.
Yeah, men and women have equivalents. You know, we're always complaining about what the other sex does, but you know, our sex does something because it's not the same. People don't really notice. It's like, yeah,
men and women are different. Wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
Thought we were all.
We're gonna get this.
That's
your channel's gonna get banned. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh my god, you're triggering somebody somewhere.
I mean, women wear makeup, yeah, and I know guys that, you know, dress and drive a car, which dress in a way to make them look richer. They drive a car that they really can't afford because it's basically the male equivalent of wearing a lot of makeup. It's sorry, headsets make my ears funny.
Yeah, it's like I bashed the head in of this deer with the huge antelopes, and now in my cave I have the giant racks on there, and you should like me. I can get the meat. I can
meat, yeah.
And I can you know, keep you comfortable. So I mean, it all goes back to like it's all primal instincts. These.
It is. I mean, it's constantly sizing each other up, and we do it in different ways. So like Dave Chappelle said once, if men could get laid in a cardboard box, they wouldn't buy a house. You know,
I know.
We buy the nice house to impress, you know, people, and because deep down, even though we're thinking, no, I want a nice big house with this, because you know, why does it's like when women say, oh, I don't dress up and make myself look good for men, I do it for me. It's like, well, on a subconscious level, why does it make you feel good about you? It's because you know deep down you're attractive to men, and men do the same. I don't want to sound like I'm picking on the women here.
No.
Make themselves look nice and say that. I mean, men do the same thing. So it's funny, all these arguments, oh, men's doing this, and you know, this is sexist and patriarchal. It's like, ladies, you got an equivalent.
It's like,
and we could bitch about it all the time.
It's because we feed into each other. Like, we feel good because you feel good, and then like it's all self-serving. It's got a dual purpose. It's self-serving, and it serves the purpose of attracting the other gender. And I mean, these are all basic instincts. Feminists and relativists, postmodernists can deny this all they want, but there is something called biology, and that keeps getting in the way.
Yeah, it's actually, it's funny. I was watching Jordan Peterson talk with Camille Paglia and Paglia, and she recounted how, I mean, decades ago now, feminists, when the science on biology was, which it has progressed quite a lot in the last few decades, feminists at one stage were actually denying hormones existed. They were so wedded to the idea that
a lot of them were taking let me guess, like the pill, right?
They did. They were so wedded to the idea that men and women's differences was not biological; it was all socially constructed. That when scientists were coming out and saying, you know, hormones and men, male hormones make them act this way, and female hormones make you act more this way. And if a guy has too much estrogen, he'll start doing this.
Oh well, look.
They basically they were like,
did you see Paul Joseph Watson's latest video with soy boy? I know. That's exactly that.
And that night at work, someone said, "Oh, do you want to try these?" I'm like, "Is there soy in it?" Because that was the first thing I thought. I don't know what that is. Is there soy in it?
Yeah, because they use soy as estrogen therapy for women who are postmenopausal.
puzzle, yeah. And it's, oh, just get a cow. I mean, seriously. There's nothing wrong with cows, Bill. Yeah, no, it's very strange. But yeah, no, for decades, actually, I actually always kind of got I must say, I always got a bit of a kick out of these magazine covers. I mean, obviously I never bought the mags, but you see the magazine cover, stars without makeup, off screen. And so how the big name, multimillionaire, top of the game celebrities without the camera angle and the lighting and the makeup looked,
bang
less.
average.
Yeah, less than average, less than like the average woman I know, less than like lower tier. I mean, obviously acting skills got a lot to do with it and personality and everything, but a lot of the kind of mid-range
you can question whether or not it is actually acting ability and whether or not that you got somebody rubbed the right way, on the casting couch.
Yeah, it does make you wonder about I mean, because you have a job like in an office or something, and over time you learn the networks and who's buddy with who and everything. It makes you wonder how many people in Hollywood now, if it was purely if they didn't have the right connections, how far they would have gotten. Lena Dunham is always, to use her as an example, her family's always been part of that kind of elitist New York set, even though we never heard of the family until she got like the writing and Girls. I mean, she got her own series pretty much right off the bat. I mean, like your average stand-up comedian has to struggle through for years, started right at the bottom, getting paid $20 to, $20 for a once or twice a week gig, worked away for years. And these other ones with connections, and you can't help but wonder how the networks work. And are these networks going to be totally disrupted now? If Weinstein's on the outer, if this one's on the outer, if, who's going to fill the voice? Would a lot of the people who aren't even directly involved or accused, are they going to fall off the radar because basically their patron is out the door? So it might be interesting in the next 5 years what kind of movies we get, because I think we're and Fixipatosis, and I've discussed this a couple of times, we're reaching saturation point with the superhero movies.
Well, I am waiting for the Marvel arc to finish, even though there's still like 2 years to go with it or something.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do enjoy it. I've missed a couple of the movies in that series. I do enjoy them, but there's a bit of oversaturation, I think, and I don't want them to flog the horse too long. I don't want them to be flogging a dead horse and just killing it. And
well, I'm thinking since Marvel, I mean, since whoever owns Marvel, is it Disney? Yeah, Disney owns Marvel now. I think it's because they've laid it out, and they've pretty much told everybody what is the movies and when it's going to end. People can expect it to end, so they are more willing to indulge in it at the moment because they know it's going to reach a conclusion. If you leave something open-ended, people are going to be like, well, I don't know how long it's going to drag on. They'll lose interest. But since it's structured, you have more retention.
Yeah, actually, I was watching Arrow. I don't know why. It was terrible. It started off good. It went terrible. But I figured because the way the stories were structured with the flashbacks, it was like, this is going to be a 5-season show. So the latest season's on Netflix. I'll just watch season 5. This will probably be the end of it. And I could say I've watched it all, even though I wasn't really enjoying it. And the last episode was a cliffhanger. And I just went, no. I was just like, oh God. It just got so bad.
Keep doing it. I watched like...
I thought it was going to end. I mean, like you said, I mean, there's an end, so you stick it out. You stick it out and say, well, I want to see how it ends. I might as well see how it ends. But it wasn't the end, so now I'm just like, oh God.
I know.
Just wasted 20 hours.
So now I got like a whole, like, I got to wait until for another season. They're going to chop it into 2. It's going to be like the first half of the season, and then 3 months later, the second half of the season. Like, because I watch a good series. It comes out every year. It's called Vikings.
Yes. I got the pre-Netflix. I started getting them on Blu-ray. Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm trying to figure out exactly when the next seasons drop. I think they usually drop in like early part of the year.
But
So
I'm kind of funny with shows like Vikings because it's a good show. It's good actors. I've actually met a couple of them at the conventions.
oh wow.
Yeah. And you know, it's a good show and it's well acted, and you know, the special effects and everything and the writing's good. But I can't help but feel, wow, these characters really are a big bunch of assholes. You know, normally I watch a show. Yeah, the Vikings, you know, they're doing all this horrible stuff. You know, normally I mean, obviously you've got to have some bad guys in the show, but normally most of the shows I watch have like the heroic group.
I like
not,
it how
not
like, the good guys will become the bad guys guys will then become the good guys, and then the good guys who turn bad will become good again, and just,
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I'm glad Game of Thrones is ending as much as I love it, because yeah, you do want the story to end. You want it to wrap up and get an ending, and then maybe a few years time they could think of a spin-off or something. But you know, you want to end. You don't want it to just drag on and on. Justified, that was a good show. I'm glad they ended that.
I've never seen a single episode of the Game of Thrones.
Justified or Game of what? Is your house like under a giant rock?
Did I just like commit a foul?
Okay, yeah. Between us saying men and women are different, and you saying you never watched any Game of Thrones, yeah, your channel's done, man. They're gonna cut you.
But no, I mean, the only thing I've seen from that is the red wedding scene, and then where that guy was fighting, the skinny guy was fighting the big guy, and the big guy just blew his head up with his hands.
Oh yes, yeah, you see it. Yes, Oberyn.
I actually for the 5 minutes I saw him, I actually kind of liked that guy. I didn't want him to die, but he was too arrogant. So
yeah, he was a bit arrogant. He shagged pretty much everything. He would have died of syphilis eventually. But he was just shagging everything. But yeah, no, Game of Thrones is sort of like that, but there's still in it these good natured characters you can kind of link to. Vikings are just like, oh god, they're all horrible. Why do I like these people?
It's really enthralling. But getting back to what we're talking about, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, the makeup, yeah. No, but no, you see some of these actresses at the conventions and stuff, and you know, no camera tricks or anything, and you know the guys, well, obviously the guys don't have any makeup.
But yeah, these women will have makeup, but they've got like 10 more pounds on them because they like to like in any like headshot or like a poster for a movie, they like to airbrush and Photoshop it to make it look the best of the best.
Oh yeah, what was it? The King Arthur movie, not the most recent one, the one with who was in it? Keira Knightley.
Clive Owen,
yeah. And Keira Knightley, like there's the before after, and they kind of like gave her a virtual push-up bra basically. So yeah, it's all, you don't know how much it's airbrushed and blah, but you know, like I said, most of the time you never meet them, so who knows. But yeah, no, for them to get really, really upset about that, even though the magazines have been doing it for years, and like I said, I mean, ladies, if you're going to complain about something, complain about the stuff we actually do, like the guy, you know, oh yeah, I earn $300,000 a year. Yeah, no, you don't.
I believe like the reason why we have such idiocy in journalism is because journalism has been allowed to create its own narratives. They have been able to there's no oversight. I mean, you had I think it was ABC came out with this stupid article that Mark, I don't know if you know Mark Dice.
Yeah, I know Mark Dice. Yeah, I've seen a couple of things he's done. Yeah,
his latest video was about how a few news outlets were examining Donald Trump drinking water. like Donald Trump stopped his speech or his little press conference to take a sip of water. And there's this
you know who else drank water? Hitler.
I know, yeah, right. Like, and there's one where it's just like we have scientific proof that Donald Trump's hands are too small to hold a bottle of water because he used two hands. who is first writing this shit? Secondly, who is first green lighting this stuff to be put out there? It's because they have nothing else to go for. I mean, it's because society right now is so brain dead, like full of zombies, that they just throw out this crazy shit for clickbaits. And that's all it is. Click for views, because these media outlets are dying, like physically in physical paper. They're dead, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And
the websites are dying too,
digitally, yeah, they're wastelands digitally. Like they have no traffic, so they have to.
And even if they had more traffic, it was a few years back. The kind of ad revenue from online ads was starting to dry up. It didn't produce for either offline or online businesses.
Not enough people were clicking. Not enough people were.
Yeah, clicking. Yeah. So, but actually, a bit of interesting history I was reading about, basically about journalism. I mean, nowadays, journalism's a 3-4 year degree, I suppose, depending on what country you're in, and they're in that kind of university kind of bubble worlds. They used to be dead working class. You know, how they got their stories a lot of times is because they knew the cops on the beat, the firefighters, the ambulance drivers. They knew the people that were involved in incidences. They were working class. That's how they got their stories. You know, if there was a political scandal, some low-level clerk was feeding them info because they knew these people like on the street and on the beat. Journalism used to be a very working-class profession. I mean, Mark Twain, I think, like his first job when he headed out west, he basically got a job as a journalist. Just he walked into the newspaper and said, "Can I write for you?" I mean, this is before he was Mark Twain. He was Samuel Clemens. He was a nobody. He got a job as a journalist. Back in those days, you got a job as a journalist. Just like that, you know, and they used to be working class, and even for a while, can't remember his name, but it was an Australian journalist. He was saying that like 30 years ago, if you went in with a story about accusing some this or that, you know, the editor would just go through and cross out everything. It's like, okay, you haven't got a source for this quote. You say here, who said that? People are saying what people, you know, cross out. They made it. You know, you had to back up everything.
But now we are in the age of where unnamed sources are. Oh, we just love our unnamed sources. We love to create speculation. We love to create a narrative that's not even there, and up to and including defamation. Like these people. The fundamentals of journalism has completely been eroded based on the fact that you were saying that these people started out as working class, and they pretty much the only way you got in was based on your merits of how well you could write or how good you could investigate.
Yeah.
Now, just like politics, journalism is full of elites. They're full of people who are disconnected from reality. They only get the jobs because their friend who's already working there gets them in there. And hey, do what I do, and you're good. You're in because that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand, you know, they're lawmakers, so, you know, of course, there's going to be a lot of lawyers in politics, but at the same time, you kind of want the Minister for Health maybe to have some medical background. You know, maybe the Minister for Defense should be a former soldier, perhaps, if you've got any in your party. And I think also the thing is, when you mentioned unnamed sources, when journalists say that, I mean, that is a great trick for journalists to use, because sometimes people don't want their name, because it's like, look, if I tell you this and my name's in there, I'm going to lose my job. So there's always a doubt. Yeah, there's always that doubt in the reader's mind. It's like, well, maybe this is a genuine unnamed source, some poor bugger that's going to get screwed over if they find out who he is.
But I think they
play on that.
But if you take example, last year's presidential election cycle, and how the media was heavily just pushing, here's this. This is like Trump colluding with Russia, Pissgate dossier, unnamed source here. This is another source here. Like source here. At some point, you have to verify and explain who these sources are, or because people will believe you up until a certain point, but like it goes back to how today's society is a bunch of zombified idiots. Journalists can get away with it.
Yeah, and it's like I was saying earlier about the law. Law gets changed, and you never hear about the consequences. Good example. People even in Australia were arguing about Obamacare when it was first introduced. I remember, like, the people but the news coverage of Obamacare in Australia there was the argument about it, and it basically got put into place, and then the Australian media just basically dropped it. So your average Australian would have heard that, you know, Obamacare was going to be passed, and then the Australian media just basically dropped it. So your average Australian would have heard that, you know, Obamacare was going to be passed, and then the Australian media just basically dropped it. Obama had this great idea that was going to reduce premiums, etc., etc.
And
it
whoever
got
was
passed,
against it
and
was not wanting 20 million people to get health care or 40 million people to get health care. It's the same thing as the yes vote in Australia. It's the same thing. Either this is the one side says, oh, this would be so good, and this is what they push, and then they paint the other side as just not wanting 40 million people to have health care. How horrible is that?
And the thing is, when talking about, like I said, when they dropped it after it got passed, they never went back to it, saying, is it working? I mean, there were problems, obviously. I mean, if you're in America, you know it.
Oh,
but
God,
Australia,
Obamacare is completely imploding in on itself. But the media doesn't talk about it. I mean, the media is only talking about healthcare now because Trump is trying to do something about it. So they have to run a screen, and they have to muddy the waters to where society is okay with this mess that we have, because they've painted Trump as evil. So whatever Trump wants to do is just bad and evil. So we don't want whatever he's trying to push on us.
Yeah. Well, I thought of Obamacare as an example because when Trump got in, someone I worked with said something about, oh, why can't they just keep Obama? And I said to them, okay, well, why do you like Obama? Well, name one thing good, one thing he did that you think is really good. And that was the example she made, Obamacare. And I know why it is. It's because, okay, she's not under any obligation to follow American politics or anything. So I'm not, having to go into that, but she would have got the standard media talk. Obamacare plan, it's going to do this. Isn't it great? Oh, it's been enacted. Never hear from it again. So she didn't know about any of the problems.
It's going to do this. It turns out, well, they say it's going to do this, but it's supposed to do this while it was doing something else. It's actually, it came out like the guy who wrote the thing, or like who wrote the template for it, at one of these events that he had a couple of years ago. He pretty much came out and said that the reason why this passed was in a lot of part the ignorance of the American voter. A lot of people just did not know what was in this, and they pushed the rhetoric of it. Oh, it's going to be this. It's going to be so good. There's going to be so many people who are going to be covered, and it's better than not having 40 million people covered. So why not do it? So there wasn't a good counter argument for the reasons why. And the media, in part, had a large part in controlling that conversation. Because the media could give the platform to the people who were advocating for it, and deny the platform to the people who were not advocating for it.
Yeah, it's actually, like, when you think about it, it's actually really, really easy to do that for the media if they're more or less all on the same wavelength. And they would have all gone to university together, really. So yeah, they would be. Same here in Australia. I imagine it's the same in Britain and everywhere else. I mean, they're going to be like-minded people in the first place because they've all picked that profession to go into. So, I mean, they do surveys occasionally.
It goes to
what profession leans which way.
The media became the gatekeepers about what could be perceived as good and bad, evil, like right and wrong. So it's wrong to deny 40 million people health care. So it's the right thing to do is to pass Obamacare. It's
a real huge double. I mean, the internet is like that as well. It's a big, massive double-edged sword. It's good. People can be informed. They can look up. I mean, we've got so many options now. You can look up whatever you want. You can completely ignore some subjects, follow some others. It's great, but it is a double-edged sword. Someone, professor once was referring to the internet as an open sewer. Not in a bad. It wasn't just in the internet. He was basically saying you can just dump whatever shit you want in there, and it's been a great force for good. Like you said, because the media tends to lean one way, and so other people can like kind of attack that narrative, put forward a different point of view. But now we're seeing Twitter's taking away the blue check marks. You know, and Facebook has been censoring certain people. YouTube's gotten funny with the monetization. So yeah, it's a great force for good, but it could also be used just to, you know, stop certain ideas getting out, stop certain people doing certain things. It's
stop people expressing themselves in a certain way.
It can cause
Your
just as much
opinion,
damage.
this opinion now
That's
is
good.
toxic. This viewpoint is homophobic, bad, and then they can just push their labels and their narratives, and it just runs back into the whole cycle of identity politics, or et cetera, and it's kind of like a shell. It's kind of like an egg, a super hard shell that is encasing all these people. It's like it's a hard bubble to where it's not allowed to be cracked, because they can just wiggle out from underneath direct confrontation, like in a debate, and then just go back to victimhood status or like slavery, blah 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 blah. It just keeps regurgitating to where you cannot get anywhere, and that's where the whole aspect of what you're saying, like it's a sewer, and these people, like anybody can use it, like you said, everybody can dump it. It's an open sewer, but the shit will always trickle in a certain direction if the people manipulate it to go that way.
No, that's a good analogy. Yeah, so no, I'm surprised. This Twitter blue checkmark thing at the moment, taking people's checkmark, it just strikes me as so weird, and it's so obviously contradictory, because the blue checkmark was always, this is that person, this is that journalist, that actor, that blogger, whoever. We verified their ID.
Now it's who
completely
we decide
neutral.
Now it's based on who we decide who is good or bad, or like who deserves to have the check mark almost.
Yeah, so, and it just strikes me as a weird thing to do. I mean, it was petty when they did it to Milo. They just took his off.
Oh, well, they're going to end up, this is going to end up really bad for Twitter, because I was watching, I don't know if you know Tim Pool. I was watching a video by Tim Pool. He's really good. If you don't know him, check him out on YouTube. But he did a video on this whole verification thing, saying that if they want to go ahead and do this, they're going to have to go after the ones like Harvey Weinstein, for example. On Twitter, he's still verified. So if Twitter is really serious about who deserves to have these check marks, people who are in society now considered pariahs, they need to get them removed. They need to get those check marks removed off all these people, because then if not, you can show you can clearly see the bias that they have, and when they try to say that they're impartial. Yeah,
it's not even off the off-site kind of activities. I mean, I've got a few people on my Twitter feed. They're just posting examples of people who still have their blue check mark, and they're making death threats. They're saying kill insert group here. They're just being abusive and horrid, but they've still got theirs while they've lost their own. So even if you take out the whole, I mean, to me, taking someone off for their offline behavior is just strange. But to leave these, and they've been reported, these people making death threats and all sorts, they've been reported, but they're still on Twitter. They've still got their blue check mark. I mean, Facebook had a similar problem. You know, people, certain groups are being closed. I saw one that got shared around where someone got suspended because they showed a picture of a burning ISIS flag. I mean,
well,
but people were posting images of burning American flags or English flag, or whatever country's flag, but, you know, burning a ISIS flag is apparently beyond the pale.
Well, you know what? I got a great example right now. My one friend on Twitter here, she got suspended for, I think, a week because she said the word Christian or something in I'm trying to scroll back down here to see. Suspended for saying the word Christian and sick of the Nazi regime. Some drama here too. So she got suspended for saying the word Christian, and that she was sick of, like, she was saying that the whole censorship and the whole cracking down on conservative viewpoints is kind of like very fascistic. So she tweets that out and she gets suspended. So it's nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the word Christian, in one of our department stores, I did a video on it. One of the department store chains in Australia put up all the Christmas trees. You know, Christmas is coming, so Halloween's over, trees up.
Oh yeah. That's right. You guys don't have Thanksgiving. That's right. You guys don't have Thanksgiving.
No, we should import it. I think. I mean, we imported Halloween. There's no harm in importing.
Hey, turkey is awesome. Turkey is yummy.
Turkey, yeah.
I cannot wait for my turkey next week.
Well, enjoy that. But yeah, so they put up the Christmas trees, but none of the boxes of the displays had the word Christmas in it. And it's like, what else do you use them for? There's no other time of the year. There's no other circumstance where you get a plastic tree, stick it in your house, and hang balls off it. Well, I mean, if you did that in the middle of June, if you did that in June, they'd have you locked away.
Well, the same thing's happening in the UK. The other day, when Paul Joseph Watson was doing the last hour of the Alex Jones show on InfoWars, he's talking about how in I think it's Tesco, the supermarket chain they have there, they have all the Christmas stuff set up, but it's not Christmas. Like Christmas cards are now called charity cards. There's nowhere where you can see Christian or Christmas or Christ or Jesus or anything like that. It's under the assumption that, oh, this is now just going to be, it's almost like it's going to be a secular holiday.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I find that like non-Christians have never had, because it's such a cultural thing, non-Christians have never really had an issue with it. Like, I refer to Fixer-Mitosis, or the Fixer, as he used to be known. Again, he's an atheist and he loves Christmas. I mean, he's all over it. He loves Christmas and he doesn't have any trouble with Christmas trees or anything Christmassy. And it's weird. But yeah, no, generally people, I mean, a lot of people do treat it as if it is a family, not a religious thing. But that's fine. But none of them, I've never known anyone to actually complain about it. I mean, maybe they don't like Christmas because they don't like spending time with their family or whatever, because their family's bonkers. But yeah, so I do wonder, when these things happen, has someone actually complained? Are they trying to preempt?
Oh, it's all on the assumption that Muslims are getting offended by Christmas. I mean, it's all under the assumption that we're going to, before trouble starts, we're going to placate them. But here's the catch. Like, I thought they were the religion of peace, so why would there be trouble if they're peaceful?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Easter's the same. And yeah, I sometimes, I do wonder, I mean, who's complaining and who are these people? It's like such an, like the Daily Mail had to deal with, in the UK, had to deal with Lego, and they were giving away Lego things in, I think it was in conjunction with Shell, the petrochemical company. They were having little Shell-themed Lego sets and stuff, and people complained to the Daily Mail because, you know, Shell is horrible and plastic is made from oil, and I think I heard there were about 1,000 complaints, but, you know, and it sounds like a lot. But you think of a newspaper like the Daily Mail, you think about their circulation levels, the size of the UK as a country, how many people worldwide buy Lego. Is really 1,000 people complaining really?
Well, it's all about the
1%.
It's all about the 1%. Like, the 1%'s the minority, so there's that social perception that they somehow must be hard done by. So even in something as innocuous as Legos, I mean, it's all like they're worried about a PR. These companies or whoever, personalities or individuals, are worried about PR backlash nowadays because everything is digital and like lies can go halfway around the world before the truth puts its pants on. So I mean, people are stepping on eggshells everywhere they go. So when as soon as there is any kind of negativity or dissent, okay, we're going to completely redo this, or we're going to like cancel this, or we're going to stop doing this. It's just
yeah, because we get
really
protests. We get protests occasionally in Australia, like everywhere else, and it'd be like, oh, even the ones in the US. I mean, when you look at the size of the protest, and it looks big, and you're like, that's 400 people. That city has 5 million in it. You know, and that's not to say that's the only 500 people that care. I mean, obviously not. I mean, a lot of people are at work or whatever. But at what point, as a government, as a corporation, as like, I mean, how many people do you stop a potentially profitable endeavor or promotion or whatever for? Do they have a kind of number already to go? Do they take into account what kind of people are protesting or against something? It'd be interesting to find out if there's actually like if they have a kind of procedure with a formula in it. You know, it's like if it's these people complaining, don't worry. If it's this many, yeah, probably pull it. So, but like I said, it goes back to who can make the most noise, who can cause the most damage. Probably, I think.
And that's just a detriment to the rest of us who are trying to just create a product or like make an idea into reality or have a certain opinion, and it stifles that, and that's the very essence of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the ability to just do what you feel, short of harming other people or trying to cause destruction. I mean,
well, go on.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say I did give it. I mean, it was for non-political reasons, but I gave a bad review once, and I was really honked off. So, I mean, I've never done. I mean, if I feel a company screwed me over, or I don't like their stance on something so much that I don't want to buy the product anymore, I just don't do it. I can't imagine going to a protest rally about it. I mean, like I said, I did do a bad review online once, but even after it, even though everything I said in it was true, I kind of felt a bit weird. I think I'd had a few drinks when I typed it, actually. It's probably why I went up, because I don't normally do that, but I did it. So yeah, even afterwards. So that's on the flip side of the coin, how many people don't complain that are generally annoyed? How many companies have like had to lay off staff or even gone bankrupt because they have done something, but the type of people that would complain generally don't. They don't organize boycotts. They just walk away. I mean, I'm sure you've done it as well. You've been to a store and you're like, I'm not coming back here. I'm going to their competitors for whatever reason, maybe political, maybe just price, service, whatever. And these companies never know, because some companies can be flying high and then they're gone the next. So maybe that's it. But I don't know, just throwing it out there, because where is Chris?
I know he said he's going to be coming back in a minute. He also said another person was going to be hopping on. A good friend of mine, also from Twitter. His name is
cool.
But I guess what we'll slide into, since we started a little bit talking about freedom of expression, and like just like walking down the street now and looking into a store can now become controversial, because here's another article that is just filled with liberal lunacy. It is this one. I don't know if you saw this one, but it's from the Scotland Herald. Man jailed for creepily staring at Glasgow pharmacy assistant through window. A man who stood outside a pharmacy window and creepily stared in at the counter system has been jailed. He was jailed for 70 days. 70 days.
What?
Yes. I'll read the article here to you. It's nuts.
Yeah.
A man who stood outside a pharmacy window and creepily stared in at a counter assistant has been jailed. Glasgow Sheriff Court was told that Joe Michael Yexley entered the honey pharmacy in the city's Alexandria Parade on September 18th, 2017 at around 10:50 a.m. An assistant asked the 28-year-old if he had been served. After requesting an item that was not in stock, the accused then started to behave oddly. Well, what does that mean? Like, what does oddly mean?
Yeah, because I had someone, I know someone, he was pulled into the office, his bosses once, and he was told, oh, such and such young lady that works here says you make her feel uncomfortable. And he's like, well, how? And they couldn't tell him. She just said, she just said, you're making her feel uncomfortable. And he's just like, no, my problem.
That's subjective. Yeah. Like, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
She feels uncomfortable. Does anybody else feel uncomfortable? Like, see, like, what are we going to go to mob rule here? But anyway, so went outside. He actually put his face to the glass window and stared in at the worker, which was also witnessed by a member of the public. The police were called, but by the time they arrived, the accused had left the scene. About 2 hours later, he returned and was spotted walking past the pharmacy. Again, started staring in towards the same counter system. The police arrived and arrested Yexley of no fixed abode for the menacing behavior. Admitting the charge, the accused was sentenced to 70 days in prison, backdated to September 19th from when he was held in custody.
First of all, was the product he requested a certain type of medication that stops him acting creepily? But you know, I think maybe 20 years ago, you'd just like the pharmacy staff would go, Barry, yeah, baseball bats under where you're standing. Go see this guy, will you? I mean, just to scare him off, you know. I mean, now it's like the police get called, and I think the British police have enough problems at the moment, and the American police and the Australian police all have enough to go after. The British police have got all those mean tweets to have a look for. So yeah, 70 days though for, I mean, obviously some weird guy staring at you, whether you're a woman or a guy, probably worse for women, I'd imagine, is pretty bad. But 70 days, I mean,
well, I mean, I don't even think like, okay, staring, okay, I mean, unless he escalated the staring to stalking, then I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, he's being weird, but it's not illegal to be weird.
Yeah. Oh
So,
God,
I
I'd be
mean-
so much. I'd be doing 25 to life. You've got how much Lego in your house? Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. You better get a lawyer.
Oh well, yeah, like that's great. Like something is innocuous, like as Legos there. Like you take like a Kinder Egg into the United States and you'll go to jail for
yeah, because like,
apparently kids are too stupid to read the package that says toy on the inside.
And they swallow it. I mean, it's like, but how many other products have things that small that can be swallowed? Pretty much everything. A lot of kids' toys do. So I mean, Lego bricks, goodness. So yeah, no, that I heard that Kinders are banned in America. It was a bit weird. It's like, but I saw a cockatiel, which is a bird. I don't know if you know birds, those gray and yellow ones. I saw one of them on American TV once, and I thought to myself, don't import them. They're freaking insane. You used to have one as a pet. You know, you can't have Kinder Eggs, but you're importing those bloody things because they're just batshit as a species. But yeah, no, it's one thing I noticed stopped a while ago. This is kind of lunacy. You know, those people with tweets. They'd go like they'd have this woke 7-year-old. They go, oh, my 7-year-old asked me why, blah blah blah. And it stopped a couple of months ago because everyone who did that got shreds torn off them. It was like, yeah, didn't happen.
No, you told your 7-year-old.
Torch of sarcasm.
Right? You told your 7-year-old to ask you that.
Yeah, it's like so. And the funny thing is, actually, a TV presenter in Australia did it. Just like, God, when was it? It was today or yesterday. She did it. Yeah, she's a TV presenter here in Australia, and it was about what we were talking about earlier. Oh, the 15th, sorry, it was on the 15th. She posted it, and it's like, yeah, it's just like, didn't you learn your lesson? Didn't you, when you're aware that we've already been through this, and everyone who said that has just been like humiliated? I mean, as theoretically as possible, you do have the odd 9-year-old who is, you know, plugged in, I suppose. But yeah, pretty much everyone who's posted that has already been just like hammered, and she like 3 months, 2-3 months later, after everyone else learned their lesson, she does it. So yeah, it's like, well, all right, guys, you know what to do. But oh goodness, Stallone's been accused now.
Oh God, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean,
I didn't do nothing.
it's getting to the point where it's almost like it's becoming the norm, to where it's like you hear another one and you don't really want to care about it, because it's just like, oh God, here's another one. I got to hear about this stuff again. And it I think it does a disservice, because it takes the importance away from the ones who are actually legitimately assaulted by. I mean, and I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying that all this coming out one after the other, people, where's it going to end? Like, well, pretty much like we were talking about our shows, people are going to get very bored with this. And I'm not trying to use the analogy where you cry wolf, because I'm not saying anybody's, you know, just crying wolf, but it has that same effect, to where the villagers aren't going to come in to the rescue. To where, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think there are going to be people that jump on the bandwagon, and when you've got like 60 or 70 people accusing the one guy, I mean, it might be advantageous really for that person just to settle with all of them, even if only some of them are genuine. It might just be easier. I mean, that's the claim, that's the explanation why Michael Jackson settled out of court, because he was basically pushed into it by like the record company and everyone, and his lawyers just settle, get this out of the way so you can get back to your business interests, your touring, your everything. Just pay him off, get rid of him. And it's like Razorfist did a couple of videos on this about, you know, basically saying, look, Michael wouldn't do this. And still today you hear people like Macaulay Culkin and so forth, young people who actually spent time with Michael when they were supposedly at that age where, you know, he was supposedly molesting young boys, all swear blind, like, no, he wasn't like that, you know, nothing happened with us, never saw anything happen, all this other stuff, basically exonerating Michael Jackson. But the fact that he settled out of court has always had that hanging over his head.
Well, I mean,
but he settled just to
perception is that you're guilty if you try to settle and try to get rid of.
Yes. Yeah. So as soon as you try to settle, but I mean, in his case, he was probably pressured into it, because if that went on, those people would have lost a lot of money. So that might happen as well. Some people might be pressured into settling and just trying to get it out of the way.
Well, when you're part of like a brand or something, or you're like really well known, or if you're the figurehead of well, let's say kind of like you're Disney and you bought Star Wars, and you got all this stuff going on. If one cog gets broken, the entire machine is going to start breaking down. So they have to fix that quick, and that could include pressuring someone to just go ahead, just settle, so we can get this behind us, so we can do damage control. But then it doesn't really allow you to get to the truth of it. And
so because you can't drag someone through the court once it's been settled, which works both ways. You can't prove you're innocent, and they can't prove you're guilty. So there'll always be that hanging over your head, and people will make up their own minds. But like, getting off kind of controversial stuff, what do you think? I mean, Disney's paid a lot of money for the Star Wars rights, so they're really trying to milk it like a movie every year. The merchandise is ridiculous. I mean, Star Wars merchandise has been ridiculous since the prequels came out. I mean, look at the bloody TIE Fighter I've got.
I love my lightsabers. These lightsabers are awesome.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, we're adding to this problem, admittedly. But do you fear possibly they could break a cog, like you say? I mean, too eager to get all the money back, too eager to get in there that they might, you know, stuff up. I mean,
Well,
it is Star Wars. It kept going after Jar Jar Binks.
If like an individual screws up, I mean, if everybody works like a fine-tuned machine, if everybody's like, all right, here are the actors, like if they do exactly what they're supposed to do, and these people are pushing it in sales exactly what they're supposed to do, everything will work out fine. I don't think that just it being so big is going to have it crush under its own weight. But the only way that I can see it failing is if they miss the mark when it comes to what people are expecting out of a Star Wars franchise.
They reveal Snoke is actually Jar Jar Binks.
I know. I'm speculating. I don't know if anybody's played the Battlefront 2 yet.
No, I haven't. No.
But
I'm still rocking the PS3.
But spoiler alert. I played the campaign. I haven't played the multiplayer yet. But spoiler alert. The people that you play in the campaign, like the girl that you play, she falls in love with the guy that is like a character that's in the game. And then the last mission is Kylo Ren, like 20 years later, catching up with these people right before the events of The Force Awakens. And and he captures the guy who is the husband of the character that you played, and apparently they had a daughter. And I'm really speculating that daughter is Rey.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because I believe that who they were as characters, she was like ex-Imperial commando, and he was also. But then they switched to the Rebel Alliance and then the Republic side. I believe, based on who they were, they had like some past enemies still coming after them. So they, to save their daughter, they put her somewhere where people couldn't find her.
Okay.
So I'm really thinking I'm just speculating that the daughter that is spoken of in the final level that you play as Kylo Ren, because you do like that whole like, I'm gonna like find out what you're like hiding from me, so I'm gonna like bust into your mind. So it's kind of like you play like this, kind of like you travel through the guy's mind, and you like go back to all these places that were in the previous levels, and you're following him, and then he's talking about, like, he says, "Oh, your daughter, blah 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 blah." I'm just like, oh shit, you got a daughter? Oh, I think I know who that daughter is.
There is. Could be a red herring. No, they're sneaky. That could be a character they're going to put in the book in a whole different thing.
It ends at a cliffhanger, but apparently there will be DLC coming out, which continues the story a little bit.
Milk on that cow. Get the teeth there. Just milk.
Oh, look!
Anyway,
who's
yes,
back.
the man is back. Yes.
Are you?
He's full? Like he's got that look in his face. Like, oh, he's talking about Star Wars. Yeah, it's changed. Yo, man, can you hear us?
Chris.
Testing.
Chris. Here, I'm gonna shoot him a DM.
Yep. Check him out.
Hang on.
Yep, I heard something.
There you go.
It's like a mission finish.
There you go.
You're still frozen on that picture.
Pulled out of the Matrix.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, you sound like you're being pulled out of the Matrix there.
Yeah, you might need to drop out of that and come back. But it is, for my time, it is 10 after 3, so I'm gonna only let this go for maybe about another 20 minutes until like 3:30 or so. So
yeah, no, that's cool. I've got an hour drive at some point, so yep, no, that's cool.
Yeah, so as soon as he hops back, we'll just like wind it down with like maybe if Chris has his own weird, crazy liberal story that he wants to talk, or you know what? Perfect thing is we can probably talk about how it's okay, well, not really okay to be white. So,
it's kind of like a weird revenge fantasy. That's what it strikes me as. It's just, you know, it's the complete opposite of the basic principles they claim to stand for. It, you know, you can't judge someone by their skin because they can't control that. Well, you know, a lot of tanning. But
what 4chan did was very smart. I mean, he got these people to come out of their holes, but with something which is very innocuous, which is a statement saying it's okay to be white, which it is. If it is truly about equality and in diversity should include white people, since we are a people. But since people coming out freaking out saying, "Oh, this is racism and this is just perpetuating white supremacy," I'm just like, it shows that these people are the ones who have a problem, not with whites having a problem with others, but them having a problem with whites. Because
and whatever group they decide to get annoyed at next. And actually, just thought maybe when Chris asked, "Oh, how do we change this? How do we stop this? You know, the constant next thing." Maybe this will be it. Maybe like putting this stuff out there, making them expose themselves, reveal what they actually do really think, because they feel safe now. Maybe that'll get the ball rolling, get the change going, where we actually start talking about actual equality, not this kind of the situational morality kind of equality. Maybe this is what'll do it. Maybe I mean, how do we stop these activists? It's like, well, let them run their mouth
without where these people can be held accountable to their own biases when they say all the time that, "Oh, we're impartial, like we believe in inequality and all this stuff," when no, you don't if you act like this towards white people. So hey, Chris, is it okay to be white?
Yo.
Is it okay to be white?
No, he's transracial.
No.
That's right. Wait, fading in now, bro. There you go.
Alright, am I here?
Yeah, you're here, but you're a little laggy.
Yeah, okay, alright. Give me a second.
You sound better though.
I think he just doesn't want to answer the question.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to answer that question if it's okay to be white or not.
Yeah, he'll lose his Twitter account.
Jesus, you say Twitter account? Is it okay to be white? Definitely not. Super racist to be born with a different level of melanin that you could not choose. You had no option. That's fucking racist. Supremacy. And milk's racist. Milk's white supremacy.
Milk's very racist. I don't drink milk anymore without wearing a white hood.
Pumpkin spice latte. Oh, you're a soy boy. Pumpkin spice lattes, they help the KKK.
So now, I like to see, like, what would happen if people, instead of putting "it's okay to be white," and what would have happened if they put up signs saying "it's not okay to be white"? Either nothing would happen, or the lefties would actually. What's that, Chris?
Doesn't matter. Would have gotten a second national peace award.
You're kind of breaking up there.
Yeah,
Can't really.
You sound
But,
good Robbie the Robot impersonation.
But no, what I'm thinking is if signs were put up saying it's not okay to be white, they would get praised. It would get praised on Twitter. It would be like, "Oh, look, finally people are trying to dismantle this white supremacy by saying it's not okay to be white." And I mean, and I'm just like, you do know that you're just generalizing everybody who is white, and that is extremely racist. So you just are a bunch of hypocrites. Well, this actually ties in pretty interestingly to what I saw again on InfoWars today. Actually, at the start of the War Room, they showed a quick video. I forgot the guy who did the video, but I think he's like an American Jew. He went onto a campus in New York City, and he had a social experiment. He waved an American flag and said, "Yes, best country in the world. Like, I believe in liberty. We defend freedoms and all this stuff." And the students walking by were like, screw America. Like, no, it's exactly the opposite. It's the worst country in the world. Like, we're fuck America. It's like a sign of imperialistic oppression and stuff. And so he pretty much got all negative feedback for the American flag. And then
can I guess?
What?
Then he flies a Palestinian flag, and they all go, yeah, that's awesome.
Very close. He actually flies an ISIS flag. He takes an ISIS flag, and he's like, "Down with American imperialism. We will bring the destruction to America." And people are just like, "Hey, man!" Like giving him a thumbs up, or like, "I support you, man." It's like, so people were actually supporting a terrorist organization over the country that they are citizens of. That is the level of brainwash indoctrination that you get in college campuses today.
I mean, ISIS. I mean, beyond like a terrorist group, the way we think of terrorist groups. I mean, we're talking about a organization, a military force which took sex slaves. I mean, holy crap! I thought we were against that whole slavery thing. You know, I mean, I thought we were against sexual assault and slavery.
Yeah, or I thought we were against the inequality that is in the Islamic world, where like when it comes to women, like female genital mutilation, or a woman's account is only worth half of that of a man.
Isn't it kind of funny that when in Raqqa, ISIS actually outlawed the burqa because the burqa was a security risk.
But wait, what? Come again?
Sorry, that's funny.
So in Raqqa, in Syria, ISIS outlawed the burqa because the burqa was a security risk, because men could be posing as women.
And like, wait, the men could be posing as women and what? Trying to escape, or trying to attack the ISIS soldiers?
ISIS.
Okay, but in the places that we, what?
But don't worry. You can wear a burqa into the bank. It's fine.
My brain just broke a little bit.
ISIS have told us it's a security risk.
My brain just broke a little bit there. How is that?
Oh dear.
Because you have videos of women who have been liberated by ISIS pulling off their crops and stomping on it, going, yeah. I'm just like,
wow. That's just wow.
Oh, baseball. We're doing the same thing here. Halfway across the world, we're both just like.
That's brilliant. I love that.
The level of like, how do you get to the point? Like, I didn't even know terrorists could do mental gymnastics, but I guess they can.
Isn't it just? It's just hilarious that pretty much every single Western country or nation is debating over the burqa ban because does it pose a security risk, etc., etc. ISIS have already told us it poses a security risk.
I mean, but then you have the people in Western countries advocating that, like, if we ban the burqa, then these people can't express their religious views. I'm just like, these women are not. It's not a freedom. It's not an expression of freedom to wear a burqa.
Yeah,
it's a burqa Barbie now.
The thing is that ISIS, an organization like ISIS, if the guy in charge comes up with something crazy, who's gonna say anything? It's like, well, that's a bit weird. Shut up, Abdul. He'll just bloody shoot you, okay? So honestly, it's like, I mean, probably a lot of people banning the burqa.
Like, what we need is some good Jedi. We need some good Jedi mind tricks to where we're like the burqa is a security risk. Yes, the burqa is a security risk. I mean, to get it through to these people here.
Oh dear.
Okay, ISIS have done bad things, but the good things ISIS did. Okay.
Wait a minute. What if you're going into an
it's
ISIS
kind of
bank?
It's kind of like Hitler did bad things, but at least the trains run on time.
Yeah. Well,
Hitler brought Germany out of the global depression of the 30s. But, you know.
Yeah, no, actually, I do hear things like that come up now and again. It's quite surreal. People saying, well, Hitler did this. It's like, yeah, he was doing it just to build a war machine and gas people. So, you know, you don't say, oh, that's nice, you bought her a drink, when, like, he's buying her a drink because he's put a roofie in it. You know, it's nice you bought her a drink, though.
Jesus Christ, can you not talk about the last time you and I went out, Nifty?
Here, it's like, yeah, world's worst pickup line. Does this rag smell like
Chris? You always worry me because near the end of the streams, you always get rapey. You get always rapey near the end of the video.
We were talking about Weinstein, for God's sake.
I know.
Oh dear.
Oh, we're bad.
Sorry if I give you rapey vibes, Harry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, your hotel.
Just make sure.
That's gonna be
make sure that if you're going to grope my chest, make sure you don't have anybody take a picture of you doing it.
I know. That's what I love about it. There's actually a photo in his case. It's like, how many times do photos have to be hacked and leaked before people go, maybe shouldn't put it on the cloud?
Well, I mean, when it comes to Al Franken's case, he was the guy. He was the one who coordinated that USO tour, so he was the one who like yayed or nayed the pictures that were going to be distributed in the packages to all the people who were involved with the USO tour. So what arrogance is that to actually like, hey, you know what? Keep that one in of me like touching that girl's breast there, and actually send her a copy of it. You know, it's just for fun.
And just for shits and giggles, it's like, oh yeah, just give them the sedate and land and be fine. It's the same kind of mentality.
Oh man.
God, it's terrible. We always go back to Nazis. We got to stop.
Well, that goes into our origin myth. It all starts with the 21st century. The modern world's origin myth is based off of the Second World War. And pretty much everything that can be judged, which is good or evil, you have to judge it against Nazism. So I mean,
a very narrow view of Nazism.
The Second World War effectively created the modern Western world. If you look at the geographical split of people post World War II. It has created the modern Western world, so that's why we do that one point.
Well, what I'm going to do is, in order for you guys to really dig deeper into that, I'm going to send you guys in the chat here the link to the video from Black Pigeon Speaks, and this will tell you how on the mark this is, because this video is in limited state.
Oh, it's in
they put it into YouTube jail. It's in limited state, so it's really hard to find. But there it was. Shit.
Yeah, no, I watched it, and it's when he released it. I do like following him. But
Foundation myth: why the West hates and is destroying itself. If you have not seen that video, Chris, you need to see the video. And actually, I can't send you the link because it's in Twitter. It's in YouTube jail. You actually have to go to his.
All right, I'm getting lag here, dude. I just said 3 times that I've seen it.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I thought that was nifty.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so
it's good. He's like,
you're a fucking racist.
No, I'm.
And you drink soy.
Racist.
Soy drinking.
I'm only
Soy boy
racist towards guys who have the word eternity tattooed to their chest.
Do you meet a lot of guys like that? Is that a thing?
Nifty, that's me.
Okay. Oh shit. Oh, look at the time.
Well, actually, that is actually quite accurate because yeah, look at the time. It is actually 3:30. So, I'm thinking we're gonna roll this.
Time for Harry to start his cam show.
So yeah, we're gonna. Why every single one of our streams just degenerate into this?
No, they do. They do.
You know
They
what
do.
his
The ones
camera
I,
shows
the ones I
called?
do with Fixer, they just get worse. You hit about the 45-minute mark, and it's just.
Well, we're going on 2.5 hours here, so we're doing pretty
Harry's
good.
cam show's called.
I'm surprised we
It's
lasted. We lasted this long, but anyway. So I think
It's called
Wait.
Hacker Masturbation.
No. It's Maffa. Make fapping.
great again.
No, it's Mufka. Make fapping great again.
Oh, shit.
Thumping the Trump.
And he uses that poster. And he uses the poster behind him as target practice.
Just aim for. You know what? Aim for Milo's face. He might like.
Yeah, he's thumping the Trump. What else do we have?
But anyway, I think we're gonna wind it down there. That was actually a very fun stream. That was really good. We actually had good topics, good discussion. We got into stuff pretty deep. Nifty, you're pretty cool. I like you. Definitely gonna have you on another one of these streams here.
Yep.
But
Cool.
okay, guys. So this is Small Cleaner Harry. Of course, another stream delves into the dredges of the open sewer that we call our brains. So hope you guys enjoy this. Remember to check out me on Twitter. Remember to check out Chris Logic Media. And we got Lord Nifty here. Check him out too. Give him a follow. These guys are great. We will see you guys again soon. And you guys have a great night. We'll see you later. Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
night. Bye.